Hello there, so I want to talk to you today about Elon Musk and Spacex and 5G. So, back in the end of May in 2019, Spacex sent up its first rocket with 60 satellites, and these are designed to eventually create a grid, and this grid is going to be in the ionosphere, which is one of the layers above the atmosphere of the Earth before we get to proper space. And they've been launching that number 60 each time. 240 at the time of the email I'd read last night is up at the moment. And eventually what they're going to do is they're going to have a minimum of 20,000 and probably a lot more, in fact, if they get their way, than 20,000 of these satellites. And they're going to create what actually was created in Star Trek ages back in the Next Generation. One of the particular sites created this grid of satellites, and that was to protect the region of space. Well, this is kind of a bit the opposite, really, because this grid of satellites, which is going to be a sphere, if it happens, around the Earth, what these satellites are going to do is they're going to broadcast radiation, which is apparently pretty harmful to all forms of life. And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? Apparently so. So I strongly recommend what you do is, if you're interested in what I'm talking about, do have a look in the description, because I'm going to include the salient facts that I don't remember in that description. But it's a pretty startling thing. And the email I was very grateful to receive from my sister yesterday evening, it began with talking about Marconi. Now, Marconi, the father of radio waves, actually set up his first transmitter at the Isle of Wight. This is a long time ago, beginning in the 20th century. And what happened is, within a couple of days, the bees in the Isle of Wight went a bit mad, lost the plot completely, and all died, and it became a bee-free zone for quite a long time. Which is a way to show us just how severe electromagnetic radiation disturbance is, because I tend to think, well, radio is nothing wrong with that. Well, actually, as far as the bee population on the Isle of Wight was concerned, it was lethal, so that's a bit of a thing to consider straight away. So Elon Musk, well known for the Tesla electric cars, and also for his own effectively private space exploration company. And if you go online and Google, you see it's all about taking humanity out to the stars and creating the first city on Mars. It all sounds very kind of expansive and exploratory. And yet, from the point of view of us lot sitting here on this planet, the most immediate thing that we're experiencing is these satellites stuck in the ionosphere. They'll be in geosynchronous orbits, so they'll kind of stay put, relatively speaking, to the position of the Earth where they are. And the more that this grid gets developed, the more we're going to get bombarded with this radiation, which is all about creating a situation where 5G is going to be available all over the world. And I was interested to notice that your so-called liberal newspaper, The Guardian, talking about 5G, not a single word about there being any health concern. It's like the mainstream media are just blanking that completely. But of course, as soon as you go online, there's loads of information. And indeed, I know people who've got stickers on their front doors which say 5G kills. So we've got this totally schizophrenic attitude at the moment towards 5G, whereby on the one hand the mainstream are talking about it being rolled out, and the China being a good one as opposed to some other one because it's going to get rolled out quicker. And it's like, my goodness me. Then there's the other side, it being harmful to all forms of life. And it seems to me that what's going on now, first of all, I thought, well, okay, this is it, all the entire human race is involved in this experiment. But it isn't. It's actually all life forms on the planet are effectively being propelled into an experiment, and there's no one can give their consent to this, because, as my partner was saying, well, doesn't the president of a country have any say in this? Well, not at all, because the whole point about these companies, they are completely beyond the governments or the opinions of the people in any country. They just go ahead according to what the shareholders and the meetings and the CEOs choose to do. So that's going on. So, like it or not, at the moment that's happening. There are people mounting opposition to it, and particularly astronomers. Over 1,300 astronomers have pointed out that when this grid is set up, there's going to be more of these satellites than there are fixed stars that are visible from the night sky, which is pretty seriously disturbing. It's going to make astronomical observation from the Earth difficult, if not impossible, so there's an entire profession poleaxed. But far more important is the issue about what it's doing to all life forms. Now, when we talk about the Chinese traditional medicine, they have a term called qi, and the Indian Ayurvedic medicine talks about prana. This is life force. Now, what I was particularly interested to notice is because they're putting these satellites in the ionosphere, the ionosphere is actually produces its own electromagnetic frequencies, and the bodies of all creatures on the planet are tuned into the ionosphere. They're used to it being a certain way. Now, once these satellites get put up there and get switched on and their numbers increase, this is going to affect the EMF, which has been there stably for maybe millions of years. It's suddenly becoming different. How on earth is that going to affect all of us? Well, one of my personal things is that I've noticed I'm having an increasingly disruptive skin condition. It doesn't show any symptoms, that you can't see anything. It's like, no, it's not a rash that kind of says, oh yeah, you've got a rash, so you've got a skin condition. No, it's not like that. It's just the skin is extraordinarily sensitive, and it was somewhere around about last summer that I noticed it starting to develop at a time of year when normally my skin is very happy and calm, giving me no bother whatsoever. And as the months are drawn on through into the autumn and the winter, it has been getting progressively worse. And the thing about me, one of my particular peculiarities is when miners used to go digging for coal or gold or whatever, they used to take down with them canaries, and they would carry them in cages and they would set them up near where they were going to be digging. And the reason they did this is because when the canary drops dead, that means that the level of toxic poisonous gases in the mines is such that it's going to threaten the lives of all the miners. So you see the canary fall off its perch, you get the hell out of that mine. Well, one of my functions is to be like a human canary. It's to do with my electrosensitivity, to do with the fact I don't exactly come from round here. It's all very strange and difficult, and of course the old historical ME all making for great sensitivity. And I am aware that there is something called shungite. I've got this recently from my niece who's suffering from ME too, and I will be investigating and getting some for myself when I get back to the UK in the middle of February. So that's something that I can do, and that's something we can all do. Get hold of some shungite. It does help to protect us against these hostile, toxic electromagnetic frequencies. But here's my point. My point is that we are experiencing effectively a planetary initiation, which is very much not of our choosing, and it's not of our will. An initiation, I want to define it. For me, an initiation is when you get taken outside of your comfort zones, such as you get exposed to a life-threatening dose of radiation from some satellites, or maybe you suddenly find yourself cast into the sea and the currents dragged you away from the shore and you don't know if you're ever going to get back, that kind of thing. These are like initiatory experiences, near-death experiences, and they provide us with this opportunity, and it is survive or perish. That's the choice we've got. So we want to do everything we can to find out how to become stronger. That's one of the main things I would say. It's an opportunity now to do whatever you can to make yourself stronger, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in all ways. Find out what works for you to keep you strong and healthy. For me, it's definitely going into nature, but I've got this thing of realising that when this satellite grid gets formed, there won't be anywhere in nature I can go on this planet where I won't be exposed to it. So that's a pretty disturbing thing to grasp hold of. And indeed, my nightlife and my dreams was filled with images of death and torment and challenge, and I thought, well, yeah, okay, maybe that's not so surprising, seeing as I'm in the middle of digesting all this information. But definitely the mineral shungite, something worth investigating, see whether you find that something appropriate for you, and then just seeing what you can do to improve your immune system and keep yourself in good health. And it's all about good diet, good activity in terms of exercise, opportunities to do meditation. I suggest a very simple 60-second meditation. I've got the film about how to do that, body work, getting out into nature and doing what it is that you love to do that makes you feel good. Creative activities, getting away from the screens, leaving the screens alone. That's got to be a good one, hasn't it? That's something that I'm becoming more and more aware of, is how like 20 years ago didn't use screens at all. Now it's like every single day. So something else to look at, see what you can do to reduce your screen usage and tune into other human beings, other life forms, plants, animals, whatever works for you. So much love in this time of significant challenge being a life form on this planet.